you made it through grad school during an ongoing pandemic while...
Hi. So I started my PhD in 2018 in media and communication, and I wrote a memoir this last summer, volume 1, July 31st is when it went live. It's called I've Been the Bad Guy, Neuroqueer Self-Realizations in the Algorithmic Environment. Environment plus virus equals environment. So this is a section from chapter 4 about 2020 for me. As stated, before any of these events unfolded, I had been reading, studying, and writing about the consequences of neoliberal late-stage capitalism. But until the COVID-19 environment rocked my world, I truly never anticipated the ways in which the costs of this system would hit home. As many universities and other essential workplaces have shown, human lives are less important than an increase in their bottom line. The loss of over 1 million U.S. lives has since been rationally dismissed as if they were all expendable casualties to the dehumanizing economy. How can America remotely pretend to hold consideration for others' bodily autonomy while openly forcing people to risk their lives to this degree? I'm 4 times as likely than the average to develop lung cancer because my mom died of lung cancer. I refuse to die for corporate education. Although my sister and I received monetary compensation, aforementioned blood money, from the corporations that poisoned my mother to death because of her hard work and efforts to grasp a single sense of ownership regarding her lung cancer and impending death, I now additionally offer a uniquely perverse insider perspective on U.S. legal systems enabling for-profit murder. This is what happens to workers who aren't being paid enough to live on in late-stage capitalism. We accrue exceptional debt, and the system profits from our continued poverty. Only in a sick economic system would someone escape the throes of debt because their mom died of cancer. At the end of every semester since starting graduate school, I've had to take out a few $1,000s in loans from this company called Elastic to just survive on the bare minimum. Now that I'm not using it anymore, they're constantly emailing me like, wait, aren't you poor? My mom is one of hundreds of other lung cancer patients who had the wherewithal to contact a lawyer and sue companies that willingly poison citizens for profit. It's demented to me that I will now not be homeless in my 4th year of my PhD because my mom sued before she died. Recently, I contacted the law firm handling my mom's settlements to inquire a list of companies knowingly responsible for countless deaths from this for-profit poisoning. The paralegal informed me that many of the companies end up closing and never even being held accountable. Why do we live in a country that excuses institutional crime? How do we reorient the American philosophy of inhumanities that have been instilled in us through decades of neoliberalism? These traumas take the form of professionalism, respectability politics, and business as usual. I'm going to read a section from my 2nd volume that I wrote a couple weeks ago. This is a passage from my 2nd volume that came out a couple weeks ago, and it's called On Being the Bad Guy. Corporatized education? More like crap education. Anyway, despite this and the constant risk to my fucking life, it was kind of nice teaching in person again. I actually genuinely really missed it. I forgot how much I love teaching in person. I forgot how much I like seeing other people in person. That's how long I was completely alone. But by far the weirdest part is that I was now nearly the only one in my vicinity taking protection of any of our lives seriously. Every single class I ever taught last year, I was made constantly aware of the fact that in those moments, every single moment I was standing in front of my class could potentially cause me to contract a cardiovascular disease that could further disable me the rest of my life and or kill me. I thought that with gloves and an N95 on. Most of my students the first semester were never masking. I knew this is because of the way the U.S. government and major health organizations had decidedly told people the prior summer that apparently COVID-19 doesn't matter anymore. So there I was, risking my life to teach a class I could teach with my eyes closed after 8 years, and my students were constantly getting sick. I became hyper-aware of the way that their hands were placed on their desks and then they touched their faces, the way that their hands touched the classroom doorknobs and then food. How could they possibly not understand how big of a risk they were putting all of our lives every time they sat in a class around 20-some other people who are completely unmasked after everything? There were at least a few people out sick almost every single day throughout the entire semester, and none of them ever wearing masks. I can't repeat this enough because it was actually tormenting. Somehow they didn't mat the math. But of course, they only knew what they knew. Everything became normal in repetition, and everything was connected. So because everyone around them was acting as if a sickening, disabling, and deadly pandemic didn't fucking exist or matter anymore, they all acted like seeing each other's unmasked smiles, making small talk in person, and having in-person teaching was apparently more important than protecting vulnerable people's fucking lives. It was normal. And they're college kids who want to go out drinking and do all the quintessentially college shit. If their parents don't take it seriously, how could they possibly take it seriously? They were at a point in their lives where literally nothing seems like it fucking matters. And they're a part of a generation that recognizes, better than probably any generation before in our lifetime, that there's a significant chance they won't live to see old age because of climate change. So in many ways, I honestly can't blame them for not giving a fuck. But I still don't understand how they do it. I don't know if my generation will live to see old age fucking either with everything going on. The new deadly normal is also systemic because other business-oriented humans acting as media and society-building processes decided to profit from them paying for in-person university classes. Those business people have decided money is more important than all of our lives. Because of course, there are markets built around students being in person inside university towns. Entire real estate agencies that would go under if they didn't move back into those college towns. Because in many parts of the country, the main economy for college towns is just that university. So not only do local businesses in those areas depend upon students physically coming back into town and the classroom so that they can survive, but there are countless other third-party industries that have infiltrated higher education as it has become increasingly corporate over the course of hundreds of years, selling students everything from food to parking. Mechanized inhumanities of this don't stop and start at food bots. They extend into a professor dying in early years of COVID, only to have their university claim ownership of all of their recorded lecture materials, etc., going on to use and profit from their work post-mortem. So this is just a section from On Being the Bad Guy about exactly this. I hope that this at least somewhat speaks or at least can commiserate with your experience. I know that nothing I say can make it better because unfortunately this is an incredibly dehumanizing and horrific structure that we're in, and academics, the vast majority of us, are as exploited as anyone else within this market. Because that's what it is. It's a market that doesn't give a single fuck about any of our individual lives. And of course, especially anyone that's been disproportionately dehumanized. All of these things stack. That's why we need to understand COVID as an environmental racism and overall environmental injustice issue, because that's what it is. That's why everyone in red line populations are hit the hardest by it. That's why non-disabled people are apparently not caring and think that they are invincible against it, because that's what eugenics teaches people. Those are all eugenics ideas based off of racism and ableism and cis heterosexism. We're just seeing it in new forms. So I know that this doesn't, like I said, it's not going to make you feel better, but hopefully it can at least make you feel less alone, because that's all I think we can give each other right now.